It rained the day the Ichiban crew presented its gift to the Army, but the wet weather did not discourage the event. These 60 men and this old flying machine had been through a lot more than that in Korea. They had no intention of losing the moment that they had been working for a very long time. They walked around puddles of water, they used an umbrella to shield the rain, and they went ahead with all those things reunions seem to inspire, posing for group pictures and the telling of old war stories. The idea to save one old machine and to give it to the Army came up at another meeting several years ago.
The project actually started 5 years ago, about this time, when we had our 30th reunion here. And we had a tour of the museum, and we found that they did not have an authentic H-19C helicopter that was used in Korea. And so we wanted to have something typical of Korea here in the museum. And so that's when we started our search.
So Jim Mowry got together with some of the other men he'd served with in the service and started looking for an H-19 helicopter like the one he and the others had flown when they were in Korea. The search took them to the swamps outside Orlando, Florida in 1985. That's where they found the ruins of one old bird that had been converted into a crop duster and then stripped after its usefulness was over. Moving it was difficult, but it was worth it. Because after the crew rescued the H-19 from its watery grave, they found that many of the men in the Ichiban squadron had personally flown the chopper. They knew it as 272, and they remembered her.
There's only 60 survivors out of our class of 92 pilots. And nobody else even knows about this helicopter. As far as Army aviation is concerned, as far as the feeling we get, helicopters started in Vietnam. And we felt that we just had to put the pages back in the history book that had been torn out and thrown away. And we feel it's important for our children, our children's children, to know that, yes, their dads did fly in Korea. But it's also important to the warrant officer candidates gone through here at Rucker to have a little bit of background of where it all started.
There were only 72 H-19s built for the Army, and less than 50 of those flew in combat. By today's standard, it was awkward and underpowered, but it could really haul people and equipment. Best of all, the H-19s transported injured soldiers from war zones to MASH units in the field. They were the first machines of their kind in the Army and changed the way that men and machines were moved in wars.
Hey, it's good to see you. Hey, I'll let you have that one.
But 272 was a wonderful discovery for several reasons. More Texans flew this bird in Korea than there were Texans at the Alamo, for example. This was the airship Quanah wheat farmer J.Y. Hammock flew across the Sea of Japan in 1953. Elmer Schwartz of Dallas spent 4 days in this airship in 1954 with Marilyn Monroe while she was entertaining the troops. Phil Mayhew made a career of flying injured soldiers to safety in Korea, then returned to Houston after the war to help start the Life Flight program in the city. Jim Mowry, another Houston man, was in the pilot seat of this chopper July the 27th, 1953, and carried the truce doctrine to Panmunjom. The men of the Ichiban squadron looked for outside help, but they couldn't find it, so they put together almost $50,000 themselves to make their old friend presentable. It was the reunion of 1987 that brought a completion to the restoration project. The men of Ichiban and their wives received VIP treatment. touring Fort Rucker, Alabama, and seeing what today's Army is made up of. None of the new equipment, however, seemed as special to the old-timers as that very first chopper, the H-19, the bird they all flew in an old and almost forgotten war.
You are the beginning of a very proud historical era within our Army that led to either the first or the second largest air arm in the world today. And I didn't say just free world, I said in the world today. And you helped make all of that possible. And so we welcome this old lady back home, and we thank all of you.
Not as spry as it used to be.
What goes through your mind when you strap yourself into one of these things?
Well, it's just kind of like crawling in the old easy chair at home. It just feels so comfortable and so natural. And I feel like I can just reach up, turn the switches off, and hit the starter, fire up, and take off. And just one memory, one mission after another comes back to mind. And I love to fly, and I love to fly this bird. And I'm old, and so is she. Kind of like getting two people in love back together after 35 years.